It's either Essiedu's acting is just so unbelievably phenomenal that he is iconic in this reimagining of Severus Snape. Or option B,
they're actors. They're trying to create an illusion. Tom Cruise is a midget, all right? But he plays guys that are normal size in movies, right?
But again, nobody's buying that either.
the Harry Potter conversation is dominating the internet right now. But more than that, it is all about Black Snape. It is Black Snape this, Black Snape that. It is, oh, Paapa Essiedu is an amazing actor. Or, you know, this whole series is woke before it even gets out the door. Nobody knows what they're doing. It's going to be a disaster. I am still withholding judgment, to be honest with you guys. The jury is still out when it comes to me. I do not like woke content. I do not like wokeness being injected into the things that I watch, the things that I read. I don't like it. I'm not here for it. I do not need to be taught a lesson. I just want to get a good story. And with so much of the series that seems to bank on getting more out of the books than the movies did, you know, I find myself begging the question, why did they go out of their way to make this decision? Why would you cast a Black actor to play a character who is so definitively not Black? And I think there's a couple reasons for it, and I kind of want to walk through those reasons and see what you guys think in the comments. Is there hope for this series? What's the agenda here? Is there an agenda? These are the things that I'm trying to figure out with this. And I come down to two options. There's option A, which is just, there's no replacing Alan Rickman, right? He is an icon. He is the vision of what that character was for the time that the movies came out. And I think there is something maybe to be said for Essiedu literally being a dark horse, right? That is the metaphor of Snape's character. So maybe there is something to cinematically bringing that to the forefront. And it's entirely possible that this man is just so damn good, is so damn amazing at what he does, that he's just going to suck us all in anyway, that he is going to be the most believable, most hateable, and then eventually lovable, wonderful, charming Snape to play on the screen. It will be like Heath Ledger's reimagining the Joker from Jack Nicholson. It will be its own moment and its own thing and its own life to a character that we know and love. Or option B, they just want to layer in racial themes into the series and make it woke. Neither of these options is really out of the realm of possibility. It's entirely possible that this man is an absolutely fantastic actor and he's going to blow our socks off when it comes to playing this character. That's not out of the realm of possibility yet. We still have to evaluate it. All I need is one scene. All I need is the opening scene where he introduces himself to the class. That's all I need. And I will know. I will know off of the very first episode, the very first scene of the very first episode, whether this man is actually meant to play Severus Snape. But, you know, when we look at the other option, it's entirely possible that HBO wants to layer in these racial themes and make identity politics or, you know, make race an element of it. They're not above this. No studio is above doing this. Everybody in Hollywood is pretty woke. They're pretty liberal, and they want to inject a lot of these, you know, lessons or values into the content that they share with us, the average person. And a lot of people have already called attention to this, right? Like on social media, they're saying, hey, has HBO like thought about the scenes where Harry's dad and his friends bully Severus Snape and hang him upside down from a tree? That's not a good look. And it's entirely possible that that is the point, that HBO wants to make that a racial component to Snape's story because they need it to be a progressive counterweight to, you know, J.K. Rowling's views on transgender ideology. They want to make sure that the series is sufficiently woke that it pulls back some of those viewers who would originally have just boycotted it on that premise alone. You know, and we're seeing this with Hermione as well because she's not white. There's not a white actress playing Hermione this time. And it shouldn't be a big deal. It shouldn't be relevant to really much of anything except for the fact that in book 2, she gets called a slur. She gets called a mudblood by Malfoy for having non-magical parents, muggle parents. So now we're getting into this really kind of gray area in the series where the characters who they decided are not white, are not being played by white actors, are going through things and experiences and challenges that now have this new layer of, I guess you could say, meaning or innuendo, given the fact that they're not white characters. That's a little bit of a red flag to me. I don't like that. I don't want to be served that kind of stuff. It's one of those things that I could be reading a little bit more into this, but I think as we've all been kind of conditioned now at this point to look out for these red flags, we're going to notice them no matter what, whether there is an innuendo there or not. To go back to these two options, right? It's either Essiedu's acting is just so unbelievably phenomenal that he is iconic in this reimagining of Severus Snape. Or option B, it's just wokeness. It's just inserted into the narrative. And to get to the bottom of what this could be, HBO's potential intentions, you got to look at two things. One, Paapa Essiedu's acting. Is it good? What has he been in that we can point to say, oh, okay, I get it. I can envision him in the character. For example, the kid who plays Draco Malfoy, I believe his name is Pratt. He did, I think it was like a mini-series, like a British TV mini-series of Lord of the Flies. And, you know, if you just watch that, if you just watch a clip from it, you can see it.
We'd hunt all day until we died here. Shut up, fatty. We needed meat and we got meat. I am sad the fire went out, but I hope we deserve some thanks for finding meat.
Like, you can see the Malfoy in him. And even when I was looking at the YouTube clip of this, all the comments were like, that's it. That's Draco. That's the guy. Can't wait. So excited. Like, with Paapa Essiedu, it was a little bit trickier. He has not really been in that many movies, even that many indie films. A lot of it has been television and TV miniseries, and that's really hard for me to evaluate. They're also really difficult to search for. There's just not much in the way of examples of his acting online. I found two examples. One, I found a performance of his where he, you know, does the Hamlet soliloquy, to be or not to be.
To be or not to be. That is the question. Whether it is nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles and by opposing end them.
And I went back and I compared that to David Tennant's Hamlet.
To be or not to be, that is the question. Whether it is nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles and by opposing end them.
So you can take a look at those two. I'll drop the links down here in the description. The other example I found is when he plays a demon. I think it's Demon 79, maybe, in a couple episodes of Black Mirror on Netflix. These episodes of Black Mirror, he appears to this girl as a demon and tells her, hey, basically, you got to murder 3 innocent people or the apocalypse is going to happen.
Hey, come on, what's the matter? Yeah, sorry, my regular appearance is probably a bit much for this realm. Just to say.
I peered into your soul, and apparently this is a physical look you find appealing, so...
And so there's a visualization of Paapa Essiedu as a demon and that interpretation and her playing off of his character. And so I'll put the link in here as well, but you can see this example of his acting, his charisma that he brings to the screen in this role. So once again, it's really difficult to make a direct sort of apples to apples comparison, right? Like, it's really hard to watch him in this and say, okay, I see Severus Snape, right? Like, there's not a direct correlation here. So there really is, I think, in my opinion, some leaving to the imagination of whether he can fill this role. And for me, a certain level of anticipation. Like I said, I'm going to know from the very first scene whether he was meant to play this role or not. So that being said, I do think he had some chutzpah here. I think he had a little bit of, I think he had presence. I think he had some charm to him. And when you hear his speaking voice versus, you know, the accent he uses in Hamlet versus the accent he uses in Netflix, like, you can tell that he is changing it up, that he is portraying different characters, that he's not trying to be, you know, sort of this one-trick pony in his acting. So, again, jury is still very much out on the performance. Once that series comes out, we'll definitively know for sure. Then the other part of this that we have to examine is the potential for wokeness as it comes from the actor, right? Like, what is the actor himself or herself, what are they saying about the role? Are they making it about themselves? Are they talking about, like, you know, how, you know, what this role means for in this political climate? Like, are they making these overt woke statements when they cover the series or when they talk about the series? That tells you a lot of the mindset that they have going into this character. And is Essiedu's mindset going in to play the best damn Snape that he can possibly give us? Or is he going into this with the mindset of, it's very important that the audience sees a black Snape on screen. It's very important that we all know that all of the struggles that Snape goes through, the black community goes through as well. Those are huge. Those would be huge red flags. So, you know, we have to dig into that a little bit and see what we can come up with. Now, he's already spoken out about trans rights. We already know that the man is woke. That's not news. Everybody in Hollywood is woke, pretty much. Like, the ones who aren't woke, you pretty much know who they are, and the rest just fall into, yes, the liberal bucket. And so right around the time the trailer was released, there was this whole, you know, kerfuffle or, you know, talking about the death threats that he received. And immediately right off the bat, that kind of rubbed me the wrong way, because so many actors get death threats. So many famous people get death threats all the time. Like, bro, you're not special. And we're trying to make this about race. He's trying to talk about it, that he got basically death threats because he was black and playing Snape. And I just, right off the bat, first of all, just, we got to be clear on this. If you're sending someone a death threat, you need to go talk to somebody. You need professional help. Bring back mental asylums. That is not okay. That being said, you know, we're calling attention to the death threats, and it makes me wonder what death threats other actors are getting. Why are we calling out Paapa Essiedu's death threats compared to other people's death threats? There's a reason why Hollywood celebrities have security around them. There are nutsos out there no matter what. So right off the bat, I didn't like that. I didn't like that immediately we're calling into conversation that, you know, the actor who's playing Severus Snape is facing these death threats because of his race. And it's like, they didn't bring into just general criticism of the role. So we need to be very specific and clear on that. We were talking about death threats. But is this something that is going to be a fallback later on? You know what I mean? It just got in my head, and that was something that just, like, really messed with me from the very beginning. Or is he going to try to blame the lack of the executives? Is the actor, are they all going to try to blame any lack of success for this series on the part of these crazy people, these racists who didn't want a black actor to play Severus Snape? Already, like, we're making this about race. We're making race a central theme of the conversation when it never had to be in the first place. So, one, why are we making news stories about it? That's the first thing. Like, why are we even calling attention to this? You knew it was going to happen, HBO. Like, you knew this criticism was going to be everywhere, and yet you did it anyway. Why? Why did you make this decision to cast this actor? So there were a lot of excerpts going around about statements that Essiedu was making in response to the death threats. And I tried to go back and I tried to find kind of the source of all of that. And there's an interview that he did with The Times. I think it's The Times of London. I don't know. It's just The Times. So I'm trying to go through this article. I'm trying to figure out what Essiedu has to say about the death threats, what he has to say about playing the role of Severus Snape. What is his mindset going into this series? Is he trying to bring race into it? Is he just trying to bring his best performance as an actor? Since being cast as Snape in the J.K. Rowling TV series, the star of The Capture has faced racist abuse. He talks about defying the haters, being orphaned at 20, and wanting to make his mom proud. So the article, I'm just going to kind of read you guys snippets. The article says, Essiedu is one of Britain's most acclaimed actors, winning this paper's coveted Ian Charleson Award for Hamlet in 2016. That was the clip that I watched. And having a TV breakthrough as Michaela Cole's friend in I May Destroy You in 2020. Haven't seen any of this stuff. Sorry, guys. Yet these weeks have been tough, and it's not just his workload. Ever since being cast as Snape, Essiedu has faced a backlash from those who believe a black man should not play a fictional wizard. That is sneaky writing. I don't like that. Those are not Essiedu's words. These are the words of the times. But I'm putting it, again, back on the audience to say we're all a bunch of racists because we don't like this casting choice. It's bullshit.
It's bullshit.
I've been told, quit or I'll murder you, he says. Let's make this the most traumatic victim narrative that we can jump off with. Essiedu, though, has been through a lot. Born in London in 1990, his father, Tony, a lawyer, returned to Ghana when his son was just 4 and died when he was 14. He's an only child. His mother, Selena, brought him up while she taught fashion and design. She died of breast cancer when he was 20. It is no wonder he says what moves him most about the possibility of parenthood, because he's married, is being a grown-up man with a grown-up child. It's so beautiful. Can't hate on him for that. He'd only just started drama school when his mother died and went back to studies the very next day. It took him 10 years to sell their home. Does he do therapy? He nods. If I didn't, I'd be incredibly anxious and unhappy, he says. I had intense brain fog, which was mostly to do with grief. Which leads us to Harry Potter. When Essiedu's role was announced last April, the uproar was predictable, with numerous critics claiming that his skin color should preclude the actor from playing a man written as white. The vitriol has left its mark. It really matters, he says. The reality is if I look at Instagram, I'll see somebody saying, I'm going to come to your house and kill you. So while I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be murdered, he laughs nervously. That could age badly. But yes, while I hope I'll be okay, no one should have to encounter this for doing their job. Many people put their lives on the line in their work. I'm playing a wizard in Harry Potter, and I'd be lying if I said it doesn't affect me emotionally. Again, I think that's a pretty reasonable statement to make. The problem is just that, we're making a deal out of the death threats to begin with. Like, we're making this part of the press tour not sitting well with me. But part of me also just feels like that's strategic. Like, this is what HBO actually wants all along. Here's where we kind of drill into, is this guy intent on playing a victim or not? And I'm going to leave this up for you guys to decide. Let me know what you think in the comments of this part. But the abuse fuels me, and it makes me more passionate about making this character my own, because I think of how I felt as a kid. I would imagine myself at Hogwarts on broomsticks, and the idea that a kid like me can see themselves represented in that world, that's motivation to not be intimidated by someone saying they'd rather I died instead of doing work I'm going to be really proud of. So is he trying to bring himself into this role? Is he trying to focus on representation, or is he trying to embody the role of Severus Snape? You guys really need to let me know what you think in the comments. Is this dude making it all about him? Is he making it all about what Harry Potter means to him and his representation in this show, or is he trying to do justice to the series? He says he wants to do work that he's going to be really proud of. The abuse fuels him. He wants to look back on this and feel as if he's kind of given it his all. I also think it's really interesting because I can see him making that emotional connection to Snape, right? Like, Snape has had a very challenging, storied background and upbringing. Going to the side of the Death Eaters, coming back to Dumbledore, like, there is a whole character arc there. And I could see somebody like Essiedu feeling very personally connected to that, right? And like pouring the emotions and the challenges of your life into the character that you identify with and empathize with. So on the one hand, that could very well be Essiedu embodying the character of Snape, seeing himself in this role and putting his full energy into the character. It could also very well be that he feels the need to have some sort of representation here, that it's very important to him that black people are playing white characters. I'm very curious to know what you guys think in the comments here. And then we go into another kind of woke paragraph here. Has he always faced racism? At my school, racism, misogyny, homophobia were rife, he says. Again, we know he's woke. He was at the private Forest School in East London. He says, I was on a Tory policy where if you were poor, the government paid for you to go to a fancy school. And I don't know if it was specific to my school, because in a dog-eat-dog world, teenagers will say anything to survive. But to be honest, kids are often just a reflection of the society they're growing up in. Okay, well, Harry Potter is not the society that you grew up in, bro. So, like, leave that at the door, please. I cannot help but think if Essiedu wanted a job for the stability and cash, it would have been easier to get a role in, say, Star Wars. Yes, but the themes that run through Harry Potter are of love triumphing over hate, of acceptance, he says. That's why I'm doing it. Okay, so woke themes. You're doing it for woke themes. And then there's one last quote that I will leave you off with where he says, look, at the end of the day, I got this job on the merit of my talent, he says. And so if that was the reason I got kicked off this job, meaning racism, then it wouldn't be a project I'd want to work on anyway. So, jury's still out for me. You know, it's really hard to separate the generic kind of wokeness that everybody in Hollywood seems to have from the mentality that they're bringing into the character, into the actor. He's given us a couple of indications that he's really proud of the acting that he's done. That could mean anything, you know what I mean? Like, he could still just be generic black Snape, and the diversity quota has been met, and the rest of us get the, you know, leftist vision of what Harry Potter was never meant to be. And then there's, you know, the idea that HBO kind of knew what they were doing all along, that, yeah, there's an element of wokeness to it, but there's also an element of sensationalism, and they knew that this was going to get the most conversation. This was going to generate the most engagement, which it clearly has. It has dominated the entire conversation about this series, and I think it will cause people to tune in one way or another to either confirm what they've been having suspicions about all along, or if it will actually be really good and engaging and make people want to keep watching this through the rest of the entire series. I'm going to wait to make up my mind. I have an idea of which way I think it's going, but I'm just going to wait to make up my mind. Tell me what you guys think in the comments. Tell me what your Hogwarts house is. And if you like this video, please like, hype, subscribe so you can get more of my content. Thank you so much, guys. As always, I'll see you in the next one.